I know I promised that that was the end, but after looking at the image a little bit, I thought this general area in here wasn't quite right. So if you remember from before, I used to have a fillet that was just all the way through there as a regular fillet. I have replaced that with a variable fillet that goes from 0.01, so small here, to 0.02, and then I got another one that goes from 0.02 down here to 0.01 there. And that gives it to where it's got a little bit of that curve right there and right there that it didn't have before. So I think that looks a little better. Kind of looks like a weld as well. The only other thing that came up on this one is when I attempted to circular pattern, as I would normally do, those around this rotation axis, and get 5 of them, it gave me some errors. So I want to show you guys a new trick that we've used, kind of not in this exact scenario, but I've used it with a couple people when things don't match up. So at this point I could try and fill it all the way around, so do each one of those fillets individually. However, I noticed when I went over to select this one, it selected this whole loop, whereas on the one that I did, it did not, which means I got just something's not quite right. So if you ever find yourself in that situation where I've got basically 1/5 of this thing is exactly how I want it, but the rest of it's just slightly off, so a fillet's not working, something like that, what you can do is I put a plane from that cutoff sketch. I put a plane right here and right here, so I lined them up perfectly with that blue line I had from my cutoff sketch, so it's perfectly lined up. Then I did a split, and I'll show you how to do that after I show you what it does. I did a split there and a split there that trims my solid off into basically 1/5 of exactly what I want. Once I have that, then I get circular pattern that solid, and now I should have where that fillet shows up all the way around. So I did the circular pattern as 2 separate fillets because I lost it, so I had to bring that fillet back. But yeah, that should be the basic look there. Like I said, it looks like I lost my fillet when I did that because the plane cut it off. So I should be able to hopefully come in here and say variable fillet. This one, and starting at that, ending at a 0.01. So that matches up. And then I'll see if this one's circular patterns, which it should. And that'll do. And there we go. So now, if you look at the image, it's got this little round in it right there that I don't think I had before. So with that in there, I think this thing looks pretty good now. So again, the actual image is I got too many things in my model tab. There it is. So that's the original, so you can see those kind of curves right there and right there. And then if I turn the visibility off on that one, I think that looks pretty darn close. So that's what I'm going with. If you run into any issues, for example, let's say you run into an issue of, as I mentioned before, if you get these little ribs there and you don't want those, I don't think there's anything wrong with them, but if you don't want them, then we can fill in that space. So one option would be to fill in that space. Another option would be come back to your original revolve and basically just say for the original revolve that we had, this was a little too thick, So if I just drag it down a little bit, I might be able to get away with just doing that. Let's see if it updates. Give it time, I got belief. Looks like it almost made it, just not quite. So yeah, I think I need to do it just a little bit more. Other ways we could do this, but I think this will work. Bring that in just a little bit more. And looks pretty good. All through there, all through there. Now when I did that, it looks like I lost my fillet. So this one right here, I can try and recover it, or it's probably just faster to delete that one and then just put it right back in. Good. Circular pattern. We lost that one because I think it adjusted the hole a little bit. But now, I think that looks pretty sweet, especially if we change the visual style. That looks pretty good. Throw some shadows on there. Perspective. Looks pretty good. Alrighty. So we'll call that the final version of that one. And then just to show you again how I did that move back here, I'll do it again. I just won't keep it so I can show you. So all I did when I had that thing that wasn't circular pattern, so I wanted to split it up into fifths, I just went back, take off some of these settings here, and I went back to that cutoff sketch, because that cutoff sketch that I had from the start, don't remember where I have that one. There we go. From this sketch, I had the lines that were separated by 72 degrees. So if I make planes based off of those, specifically, if I make that visible again, I can go plane and I can click on this flat surface and then click on that line, and what it does is it says, can I make a plane that is some angular measurement in reference to the current plane based off of that line. So I can make it 90 degrees, I can make it 45 degrees. I would do it like that. What I'm trying to do is a 90 degree. So I'll do 90 and then I'll repeat that process for the other blue line. So work plane. And by doing that, that lets me come in here and go to 3D model, split, and I'm going to trim the solid with this tool. I will remove that side, which removed that part. Then I'll do the same thing again with this one. And I don't want it to go that way, I want to remove that part. Now if I make this invisible again, you can see it. So now I had a fifth of what I wanted. I had that fillet the way that I wanted it. So at this point I could go back in and circular pattern, and since everything's based off that same sketch, this should work out nice. I'm going to circular pattern the whole solid around center of that. I want 5 of them. Now, for whatever reason, my other ones were slightly different. Now all 5 should be absolutely identical. And then after I did that, that's where I went in and did the fillet and the holes and things like that. So I already did that, so I'm not going to save these. I'm going to delete those and then travel back to the future. And yeah, once it gets done loading there, got yourself a pretty sweet looking wheel. So once again, thanks Jack for submitting this one. That one was pretty fun to make. All right, have a good one, everybody.